Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We've got a great group here today, and I've just in the last month, my view of artificial intelligence is really, my mind has been open to new things that lawyers can do with artificial intelligence. It's just mind blowing. And there's no one, we have an incredible group here who've done very unique things with artificial intelligence. Michael McCready, a fantastic lawyer in Chicago, Sarah Frasca, and Michael Smith of Point Northeast. They've done some pretty amazing things. Nancy Cavey, a nationwide disability attorney who promised to show us a lot of really good things about medical chronologies and saving times. And Maddie Alger of Blue Shark, who will show you some really cool things of using artificial intelligence to create content and do other things to increase your digital presence. So, Michael, we're going to give you the floor first, and thank you, everyone, for joining us.
All right, listen, there's a ton to go through, and I've got some esteemed panelists, so I'm going to go very, very quickly. Couple things that you need to know before we get involved. There are a lot of different platforms that you can use. I use ChatGPT. There are others. They have their positives. They have their negatives. It's like Westlaw and Lexis. So everything that I'm going to refer to is going to be on ChatGPT. It's very easy to sign up. It costs $20 a month. I would pay 10 times that for what it does for me. So sign up for the $20 package of ChatGPT. When you put a query, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, into ChatGPT, it is indexed and kept by ChatGPT. That's bad. You don't want that, okay? That's one of the dangers that people say is, oh, putting things in AI, it feeds the AI. There are ways to create custom GPTs, and there are ways to restrict the access that GPT uses with what you put in. Those things are two critical things. I'm not going to share my screen, but creating a custom GPT is as easy as this. Pull out your pen, open up GPT. On the left menu, you're going to see something that says Explore GPTs. Click that button. At the top right on the next screen, it says Create. Hit Create. And then ChatGPT is going to ask you questions. What do you want to create? It's really as easy as that. So that's how you create a custom GPT. It'll walk you through the process. And of course, you're going to want to train your GPT. And I'm going to go over some of the uses that I use for custom GPTs. But before I do that, the second most important skill, or most important thing, besides creating a custom GPT and keeping it private, is learning how to master a search. When we were in law school, we learned the Boolean search, slip within 4 words of fall. And you could get pretty good at finding the case in Westlaw based on how good you were with a Boolean search. Well, then along comes Google, and then you just type in whatever you want, and Google gives you the result on the basis of an algorithm. But what Google gives you is the answer to your question on a web page. Okay, so it will answer your question, but it's going to direct you to a website that gives you the answer. And it's pretty good. We all have to admit Google is pretty good. An LLM, large language model, or a GPT is a completely different type of search. When you type in a query, it is going to search a database. If it's just general ChatGPT, it's the whole internet. It's not what you want. You want to segregate what database you're using. But you're going to ask a question, and it is going to analyze and come up with an answer based on the database that you direct it to. It's not a website. It is a black and white answer. It is, although ChatGPT is now turning into a search engine, it's not quite a search engine. ChatGPT's model ended in January. It last indexed the internet in January, so it's not going to have any up-to-date information. Okay, so master the query in ChatGPT. Here's the important parts. First is, what is the role of the person that you are asking ChatGPT to take? The question may be, you are an experienced appellate court judge. okay? Or it could be you are an experienced biomechanical engineer. That role is going to dictate some of the result that you're going to get from ChatGPT. I know Jay is on here. I'm fooling around with those police reports for you, but you are a judge in a DUI trial, okay? Or you are a criminal defense attorney defending your client of a DUI. So what is the role? It's the first step. The next is, who is your audience? That's going to give you the output. I like to, in a lot of my queries, say, I am an experienced trial attorney. My question is this: please explain it to someone with a high school education. Okay. Or you can say, please explain, give your answer to a first-year law student. Or give your answer to someone who is in first grade. Right? So you want to define your role and define your audience. Those are the two really big secrets or big things that you want to do with queries. Next, you want to give your format. How do you want the GPT to process and give you this information? Do you want it as a chart? Do you want it as bullet points? Do you want it as a narrative? There are any do you want it as an image? Okay, so what is the output? In what format do you want? What constraints do you want to put on it? Give me the answer in 250 words, or give me the answer in 5 sentences, or give me a 1,000 word explanation. And then you want. So a lot of people are hesitant about AI because of hallucinations, right? Where do you get this information from? Well, you know what? Ask it in your query. Please cite the sources of where you are getting your information, and it will show you exactly where you get that information from. Then the final thing is, AI and ChatGPT is a conversation. If you don't get what you want the first time, and it's unlikely that you will, you ask it to refine its answer. So that answer was okay. I would like you to focus more on this area. Or your sentences were longer than I am accustomed to. Please reword this in using shorter, simpler sentences. And just keep digging down until you get the response that you want. And even when you get the response that you want, ask questions like this: what did I not ask, which is important? What did I not think of that should be included in your response? Okay. And using these simple tricks for your searches is going to make you get the results that you're looking for. So once again, you might have been good at a Boolean search, and maybe you're good at, at Google. This is a whole different type of search, and it is not just one and done. The idea is to refine the search to get exactly what you want. Now, some of the and then the results, whatever you want to do with this, are endless. So I'm going to share with you some of the custom GPTs that I have created and that we use on a daily basis. I told you that you want to limit the data that you're pulling from. So, for example, I saw Carl's on this from Smart Advocate. Smart Advocate has got a great, it's called Atlassian. It's a huge user's manual, and it has everything that you could ever want. And you know what? I can never find anything in it because it's so comprehensive. And you use their search bar. And if you want to learn how to attach a document, you attach a document and 20 different things come up. It's not the most user-friendly. So I created a custom GPT. I took the URL for that, for their handbook, their user's manual, and I said, every question that I ask, I want you to reference this and only this. And it's a URL. Okay, it's not an upload. It's not a PDF. It's a URL. Ask it, do you understand? Ask it again. If I ask you a question about Smart Advocate, what resource are you going to use? Well, I'm going to use all the resources at this URL. So now my team can say, how do I attach a document? And this custom GPT is going to go into all of Smart Advocate's material and then all of a sudden, kick back and answer. That's a lot easier than having to go through a table of contents or a simplistic search bar. So we do that. Jury verdict reporter. One of our states gives us a hard copy, a PDF of 500 pages of all the jury verdicts in Indiana. We pay for that. We upload that into a custom GPT. We now have full search capability of all the jury verdicts in Indiana. Now, can we get that through the paid service? Yeah, I could tell you, show me all the trials that Mike McCready did last year. That's an easy search. But how about this one? How about show me all the verdicts against State Farm in excess of $50,000 that used pain management and were in counties south of Indianapolis? Okay, bam, it goes straight to the resource and it finds that answer. We are in the process. I don't know how many people are on trial lawyer listservs, but listservs are a fantastic resource, except for the fact that the same people ask the same questions over and over again, simple questions. Well, we are attaching a custom GPT, which will reference all of the listserv responses. So instead of my team asking the listserv, how do you do this? We are going to be able to type in an uninsured motorist claim, is there MedPay subrogation for a minor? And limit that GPT's data to just the answers on the listserv. And instead, so it gives you search capabilities and analysis that no other searches can do. We buy AAJ litigation packs. So we've got the litigation package on Walmart, which is like 1,000 pages long. So we will upload our parts of our file, cross-reference it with the materials in the AAJ litigation pack. What else do we do? Smart Advocate and all of your case management software over the years, I'm sure, has got contacts in it that are not properly formatted. Maybe it says like 200 small w dot Main Street. Well, that looks terrible if you print it. We have exported all of our contacts. I think it was like 130,000 contacts into an Excel spreadsheet. We uploaded that into ChatGPT and we asked it several questions. Please identify any missing information and highlight that for us. And if you are able to identify the missing information, please supply it for us. Right? So for example, say we miss a state. So the address is 123 Main Street, Chicago 60606, and we missed a state. Okay, ChatGPT will put in IL based on that. Please standardize all of our punctuation. We do not want, it should be capital S, small t, period. And so we're doing that. I've got 1 more minute. Easy stuff, deposition summaries. So each of our attorneys likes a deposition in a different manner. And so we program the GPT. The first question is, oh, you have a deposition ready to summarize. Who is it that wants the summary? And you type in your name, Michael McCready. Oh, Michael, I see that you like your deposition summaries in this style. Is this what you want for this case? Yes, it is. Okay, different people have different styles. And if I answer no, it isn't, it gives me a list of 10 different styles of summarizing a deposition. Well, if you don't want your typical style, do you want one of these styles? Do you want it bullet point? Do you want it focused on liability? Do you want it cross-referenced with any other depositions? So So the idea of AI and a large language model is, I don't care how great of a lawyer you are, there is a limit in your human intelligence and your brain of the amount of information that you can keep up there and you can process. And AI is limitless. You can feed it more information than can ever be kept in your brain. You can train it, and it can give you the answers that you're looking for in a way that the human brain can't. So that was a lot of information, and I did it in 15 minutes. There you go. Back to you, John.
Oh, that was awesome. Thank you, Michael. And that, what a treat that is. What an incredible use of AI. So I really appreciate that. Tom Tona, fantastic lawyer in Long Island. Tom, we're going to add you here, and the floor is going to be yours right now.
Sure, and I'll try not to take up the full 15 minutes. I know there's a lot of panelists. Just to jump on a couple of things that I would tell people right out of the gate. I know we have almost 100 people on here. One, go to the NBI website. I've posted it multiple times in the Facebook group. The best $200 you're going to spend is Mike McCready's hour and a half deep dive. Everything that he did today in a condensed 15 minutes could not possibly get. So I highly recommend all 100 people go on, spend the $200, get the link to the NBI website for Mike's masterclass. It truly was eye-opening.
Hey,
So,
Thomas. Hey, Thomas, I appreciate that. I get
sure.
nothing. I get nothing from that, and I'm doing it again as a reprise a couple times in the next couple weeks, and so I'll post it with John. But and it will be free. So I don't want
Awesome.
people to.
Awesome.
And you know what? I gave it 3-4 weeks ago, and AI has changed. The presentation has changed. So I didn't mean to interrupt,
Yeah.
but I'm happy to do it
No,
again.
no,
Thanks for
you're
the plug.
fine. You're fine. So a couple of use cases that we have used it for. And while Mike was training me on this, I went deep dive into the custom GPT realm, different than Mike to the extent that I use it. I'm heavily focused on the business of law, right? So what I have done is created custom GPTs for tonal law as follows. I uploaded, we're on EOS, we just finished 2 years. I took our entire EOS leadership team handbook, scanned the entire thing in, and created a custom GPT for tonal law EOS implementation. What would my implementer advise as if they were a 20-year EOS implementer under Gino Wickman's traction and EOS? Also, I've created the tonal law operations GPT for all operational questions. So every time we run into a snafu with, let's say this morning, we ran into a check handling snafu. I've got 3 different people at 3 different phases of how we administer our operating checks, how they get written, how they get approved, and who signs them, right? So today I took our current system, uploaded it into the operations GPT, and said, use EOS's 3-step documenter form, as well as their followed by all format, and simplify this system for me. Okay. I also have a tonal law HR expert GPT. Again, what we did was we took all of EOS's forms, people analyzer, and everything that pertains to it, uploaded our accountability chart. And I said, I want you to act as my HR expert with 20 years of hands-on experience, also a background in EOS, and utilizing the book Crucial Conversations. And so now anytime I need frameworks for HR conversations, we go in, we're plugging in the predictive indexes or the disks that every team member has taken and saying, create a custom framework for this conversation. And that conversation doesn't have to be a crucial conversation. It can be anything, but now it'll allow us to talk in terms of what is the best communication style for that person based on the tests that we've uploaded. Other use cases that we've used, Mike already talked about legal research and drafting, summarizing case law. I have a 40-page bad faith New York case that I wanted to summarize, and I just plugged it in. I didn't feel like reading the whole thing. It gave me a quick summary. I had read it in the past, obviously not relying on it, but it's fantastic for those too long, don't want to read, instances when you need a quick summary. Creating administrative efficiencies, drafting documents, administrative efficiencies, internal documentation, content creation. Everybody knows that you can use it for both client education tools. I use it for 1-minute scripts. I want to create for videos that we use Smart Advocate to then automate sending out these videos to clients rather than repeat conversations. I've also used it for data analysis. Right now, I'm creating a custom GPT to help me predict financials for next year for 2025, right? So I can upload 3 years of financial data and say, give me projections. And what information do you need to make those projections higher probability projections? And then last thing we've been using it for is creating onboarding modules, right? Initially, we were great at hiring and recruiting. Onboarding was a weakness. Now, every time we're onboarding, we're creating different PowerPoints and different content around the onboarding module for HR. So where Mike has done very deep dive on probably every topic I've already talked about, I've heard him speaking specifically about use cases, substantive law, and I really want to deep dive into the business side for myself. And I would encourage you, there are no limits to it. Like Mike said, spend 8 hours, not all at one time, but spend 2, 3, 4 hour clips doing it. And you'd be amazed at what you can do with this product. And again, I'm using ChatGPT 4.0. I would recommend at this point, for anybody who hasn't done it, I'm using the Teams version. We have 25 people in-house, 15 people overseas. Right now, only my leadership team is using it, because the issue is if you create custom GPTs on the individual one, you'll then have to migrate it over, and their migration is clunky, and it's only $5 more a license. So where it's $20 individually, you're paying $25. You only need 2 people to get the Teams version. I highly encourage you to do the Teams version. John, that's it. I'll pass it back to you.
That's awesome. Hey, thank you so much, Tom. And by the way, Devin Slavinsky, I saw your questions in the chat. We will get to them. Really appreciate that, Tom. Great stuff. Nancy, we're going to go to you right now.
Great. So I have a nationwide disability insurance practice. I also handle Social Security, disability, and long-term care cases. So my practice is very paper intensive. We get medical records about 1,500 to 2,000 pages. Our LTD claim files are about 6,000 pages. When I have to do an appeal, I write a 25 to 65 page appeal letter, and I'm really taking apart the carrier's analysis of the medical as part of my argument. In the context of a Social Security case, we're expected to prepare a brief for the court, but we're also expected to be able to cite page and verse, if you will, in terms of the medical records. Many times the judge will say to me, Ms. Cavey, where is this? And I'm expected to be able to give it to him just like that. I'm also involved in developing a closed project, if you will, for about 250 lawyers across the United States. So we're building a closed model. So as part of that, I went to Law de Gras, which I would strongly suggest everyone do. So I have stood in front of the fire hose, if you will. And what I want to bring to you are several things. The first, I want you to give you a criteria for evaluating AI, because you're just getting this in front of you like at that fire hose. And as Michael said, it changes day to day, week to week. So I've come up with a criteria that I use to evaluate the use of an AI program. The first is efficiency. How will this program, whatever you're looking at, improve the efficiency of your practice? Now, in the context of my practice, I want to tame the Social Security electronic record process, claims process, and I have to deal with these huge volumes of medical. Same way in the context of the LTD cases. And ultimately, just like you, I'm a plaintiff lawyer who files complaints, and I'm in federal court. So I've got to deal with developing pleadings, discovery, motion for summary judgment. So I'm looking at this in the context of how can this piece of AI improve my efficiency. The second thing I want to know is, how is this going to improve my firm's capacity? So what are the number of cases can I handle? What are the number of files that my staff can handle? And how does it free up my time or my attorney's time to deal with more productive cases? The third thing I look at is, how does this impact client satisfaction and the Net Promoter Score? So one of the things that we're using is something called HONA, which will help obviously with that. And then the fourth thing I want to know is, how does this impact the profitability of my law firm? How does this really impact the bottom line? So let me tell you, when I went to Law de Gras, one of the vendors there was a company called Tavern. And I'm very skeptical, kind of hard to convince that this is something that will work. I actually interviewed 3 medical record summary companies and came away with Tavern. So Tavern is an AI-powered medical chronology and summary for attorneys. And it comes, what's neat about this is that it can let you summarize the medical records in a format that is usable for me and I think for most attorneys. And it can deliver a summary in anywhere from about an hour to no longer than 12 hours. And believe me, I've got huge files with medical records that I need summarized. And what we did with this, by the way, is, let me back up. It is actually linked to the medical records. So you could actually click on the summary and it'll take you right to the actual medical records. In the context of any kind of case, you can search, say, I want to know what were the episodes of spinal stenosis? What instance was there a positive MRI? And so it will actually highlight it and take you to that. In the context of my Social Security practice, at step 3, we have to establish that the claimant potentially meets a listing. So this is internally built in, where it will scan the medical records and match up those part of the medical records that meet the listing element. And again, I have access through the ERE, the electronic record, so I can be able to do this in a snap. In the context of my ERISA practice, it was taking us days to summarize medical records. Same way with the Social Security practice. As a result of testing this out, what I did is I took their summary and I compared it to the summaries that we had prepared in a number of cases. So we took, I think, a couple LTD cases, a couple Social Security cases, ran the file through this proprietary system, and out popped the medical composite or the medical summary. And then I compared it to my medical summary, and it was amazing. As a result, what has happened is I've signed a 1-year contract. I entered into a 30-day trial, which we've already passed. And using my criteria, let me tell you what happened. In terms of efficiency, it now takes us 1 to 5 hours to summarize huge medical records in a format that is consistent with the way we use it, instead of days. In terms of capacity, I have terminated a full-time virtual employee whose job was nothing more than getting medical records. My paralegals have come to me and said, because of what you are doing, we can increase our capacity by 100 files. Think of that, 100 files. Now, based on the average fee that I get, I anticipate that it's going to add $135 million in revenue to our practice over the course of the next 2 to 3 years. It had no impact on me, but it freed up an attorney who can now devote her time to doubling our long-term disability practice. And I'm sitting on about $1.2 million worth of fees in the long-term disability area that we could not manage because of this medical record snafu problem that we were having. And so we are now going to be able to probably add close to $2.6 million in revenue in our firm. Obviously, I'm going to be training it to do draft appeal letters and draft discovery. And what is it going to do to our client satisfaction and net promoter scores? Factor number 3. Well, my paralegals are going to have more time to call and interact with clients, and I think that will improve our net promoter score. I talked about profitability, but it's also going to impact our KPIs, how we're measuring what our staff is doing and the time that they are spending. As a result, we believe we'll be able to double next year our Social Security and long-term disability cases. I had set that as a goal this year. We have not met it, but I'm very confident that we will be able to meet it. I'm going to have to add staff, at least 4 to 5 employees, and obviously I'm going to be using it for hiring, onboarding, training, and we're going to obviously monitor this, but I think that just this program is amazing. I'm also working with Even Up and Clip. I suggest you look at these. I have met, by the way, with the COOs of all 3 of these companies. I can be a bit of a tough cookie, if you will, when I want to buy something. So I put the COOs through the pace, and they'll be working with me on my proprietary project for my 250 of my colleagues. I quickly want to switch to talking about AI and smart way to use this for content marketing. I use SEO research. I do topic searches. I do A/B testing. I do competitor research, and I do content creation. I want to challenge everybody in 2025 to think about AI this way. I use a spoke and wheel, a wagon wheel approach. So the center of the hub, if you will, is going to be content, the basic content hub. I use, and the way I do this, by the way, is I write 30 blogs a month, takes me 15 minutes per, and I get my ideas from Google Alerts, news and current events, topic searches, questions from clients. That's the hub, but I want you to think about spokes, and I have 12 spokes. The first spoke, obviously, is the website. Our website is going to be relaunched at the beginning of the year. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say the issue is, what are the 12 mistakes, a personal injury, what are the 12 mistakes you can make in your auto accident case? That's a question you get. You write a blog. I take that blog and then I put it up on the website. Then I take that blog and I create a blog script, a video rather. We post a video a day. I shoot, and I'm actually 6 months ahead because of this ability to create content. So we take the blog, we make it into a video. So website, spoke 1, spoke 2 is the video. Then what I do is I can take that video and then and the blog, and ultimately I do a podcast. I have been doing Winning Isn't Easy, which is a very niche long-term disability ERISA podcast since 2020. I've got 150 episodes in the can. We're starting a Social Security disability podcast, and I use tools in there in that process such as SpeakFlow, Restream, Cast Magic, and I'll talk about Cast Magic in a moment, Buzzsprout. So then I take that piece of written content and I sometimes use it to write books, which is my lead magnet. The book is on my website, and I can use chat. I use Dolly. You can use Dolly to do diagrams or pictures. Then the 5th spoke is a newsletter. So I take that article and I kind of rework it for our themed newsletter. The sixth thing I do is use it on Facebook. And I can repurpose that based on some tools I'll talk about in a second. The seventh is a YouTube channel. So if you go up on YouTube, I have thousands of videos, and I get calls from all over the United States where people will say, geez, I saw that you just did a video on chronic migraines. I want you to represent me, and I live in New York, because I've been able to become an expert in the eyes of folks based on that content. Then I also have a library from that the YouTube channel stuff. I have a library for my clients. So if you have a migraine case, I probably have 12 videos that you would have access to. Then quickly, I'm using it for LinkedIn. So we're using Opus. I can take Opus and take the video and create content. And I can do that based on whatever platform I want to put it on. So I can put it on LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, and whatever platform I want. So I use Cast Magic to turn audio into to content. I turn it into emails, blogs, social media posts by platform. I take the audio from the YouTube, I turn it into clips, and I also create the lead magnets. I also use Opus Clips to take the video, and then I turn it into shorts based on the social platform that I want to be on. You name it, I do it. I create B-rolls from it. I don't do that. I have people that do that. But that one piece of content in the center of this hub has now been repurposed in at least 12 different ways. So they're fantastic tools that you can use, or your staff can use, or your marketing people, to create phenomenal marketing. Thanks.
Awesome. Hey, thank you, Nancy. Really appreciate that. I love what you do with the medical record chronology, because we could get 2,000 or 3,000 pages of records, and putting it through Tavern. Can you give us an idea of what the cost per point is for that?
I negotiated a deal with them for unlimited access to it, because in the context of Social Security, I have to redo it. I would suggest you contact Colin Hubble, Hubbell. His number is 937-543-2638. I don't get anything, but maybe I will. But the price I am paying for, again, I terminated one virtual assistant, and my staff is telling me they can, each paralegal can handle 100 new cases. So whatever small amount I'm paying is who cares? Because of you heard, I've got $2.5 million worth of revenue that I think I can generate. So
thank you, Nancy, so much. Really appreciate that. We've got Michael Smith and we've got Sarah with us today. Thank you for joining us, Michael and Sarah.
Thank you for having us, John.
Yes. So I've heard from Tom Tona that you've done some really cool things with artificial intelligence. So we're excited to learn more.
Thank you, John. So a lot of what has been described so far is on the what, and amazing examples. I mean, it's inspirational to hear from all three folks who have already spoken. You're using it in such amazing ways. We have tried to focus our AI tool on the how. So not on the what, but on the how. And my business partner, Michael Smith, and I are about to release a tool actually that will be available soon, but it is called Personal AI. And I'll share the screen in a moment so I can actually show you how it works. But Michael has been consulting and coaching firms for 40 years. I'm much less, although some days it feels like more. But we have a number of different, elements that he can bring in. So let me just describe this as, it's almost like we have plugged a USB port into Michael's brain. And now all of that information, all of his experience, all of the things he's done is actually downloaded into this personal AI tool. The idea would be that you can ask it questions. lot of folks have asked, how did we get all of that information, right? Because we can't actually plug a USB into Michael, but we do he coaches our team at almost every single week. And so we have put in place a Tuesdays with Michael type of forum where our teammates will ask questions that might be coming from clients or things that they anticipate, and then Michael will answer questions. Things like, what do you do for a partner dispute? How do you coach a teammate that might be of a different generation that has a different type of work style? Things like, what do I do if I have an employee who's underperforming? Things like that. He'll actually explain to the team. We have, of course, recorded all of them, taken those transcripts, and it is an amazing amount of information that we have amassed and put into this tool. So as I bring it up on my screen, Michael, what else might you add to how we've done this?
Well, the addition of database is we've gone through literally all of the hard drives, all of the files over 40 years, having worked with hundreds, close to 400 law firms from Nova Scotia to Vancouver to San Diego to Miami, and all types of projects. So what we've done is downloaded the most concentrated level of information into the AI that now has that in its memory bank. In addition, there's probably 12 to 15 other business verticals, from commercial real estate, financial services, accounting firms, medical practices, that have been advised over the years. So what we're attempting to do is to build a repository of information and data that if people have specific inquiries on issues that they're grappling with, we can pursue it on personal AI. And you'll see the interesting thing is that it mimics the voice of the person, whoever the personal AI, in this case, it's me, but it basically replicates the voice in a way in which it's giving a verbal presentation on the query that's been made. So Sarah, why don't you go ahead and you can demonstrate.
No, it's lovely. And I mean, there were, I think, 95 people at one point on this call. I bet 95% of them have worked with Michael in the past, or at least have heard him speak. And so you can be the decider on whether or not you think this sounds like him, you know, both his kind of his heart, his voice. So I want to ask this personal AI portal a question. And so I just want to tee this up, and I might do a couple of them, but if you have a burning question that you'd like to ask Point Northeast or Michael Smith, put it into the chat or the questions, and I will load it as the next questions. So again, it can be on any topic, but again, if the tools that you've heard about are focused a lot on the what, on the medical records, on things like that, these are on the how. These are on how to handle your team, how to handle process, how to handle the hardships of owning a business, frankly. All right, so I'm going to ask a question here. Let's just see if I can tee this up. I'm going to ask, what advice do you have for a leader that is unable to get out of the weeds? I'm sure you don't know anyone that is like that, but let's ask this. So what would you suggest for a leader who is unable, might be unwilling, but we'll just say unable in the moment here, to get out of the weeds? Okay, let's ask Michael Smith. So the personal AI here is going to give us an answer, and you'll see in a moment here when it gives us that answer that it'll actually feedback both the answer as well as the audio. So that's pretty fun. I made this new group here, so if it doesn't work, we're just going to copy this and put it into the other one. Okay, well, there is that. All right, here we go. Let's go. All right, so we've received... Great. Got all sorts of questions or all sorts of answers here. So I said, what would you suggest for a leader who's unable to get out of the weeds? Michael Smith says back to us, great question. For a leader struggling to get out of the weeds, I'd suggest a few key strategies. Delegate effectively, trust your team to handle day-to-day tasks. This frees you up. Set clear priorities, identify the most critical areas that need your attention. Schedule regular big picture time, blocking off time each week to have that strategic thinking and planning. Get outside perspective. Sometimes we're too close. Remember, your job as a leader is to work on the business, not just in it. It takes discipline, but shifting your focus to the strategic level is crucial for long-term success. So now I'm actually going to play this, and I hope you can hear the audio.
Great question. For a leader struggling to get out of the weeds, I'd suggest a few key strategies. One, delegate effectively.
All right, I won't play all of it, but those of you who have worked with Michael know this is his voice, so it's pretty impressive. All right, so I'm hoping that there might be some questions. Let me just see here.
The other interesting piece on the personal AI is that it evaluates the information and the data and the voice cadence and the use of humor or how one presents. So it's really been pretty fascinating to utilize this and see how it's responding. And it's really quite remarkable. It's just amazing, actually, in terms of how it basically presents the information in a similar format as if I were presenting it directly to somebody. So,
And to train, just to add, to train AI to do this, all you need to do is read a script about 5 minutes. We do this with video, so you've recreated his voice, but we recreate video, and we're having all of our case managers read this script, and it says, use an excited voice or use an angry voice, and it gets all your facial expressions, and then you can type a script in, and whatever it is, and then AI generates that person with the facial gestures. It's really creepy, but what we're this close to doing is our intro video, our intro to our clients is going to be, hey, Michael Smith, this is Michael McCready, your case manager. I just want to let you know that I'm here for you. Everything is going to be personalized, using the person's name, and it's not going to be shooting a separate video. You're just changing the script, and then the AI changes the video. But just like what you've done with your voice, it's remarkable.
That's great.
You can't tell.
It's great. I typed in another one just for another example, because again, some of these are really tricky situations. So the question that I typed in was, what do I do about a partnership dispute with my law partner after 15 years in business together? So, again, this is Michael Smith's reaction here.
Partnership disputes after a long tenure together, a delicate situation indeed. Here's my take. First, have a frank, open conversation with your partner. After 15 years, you've likely built a strong foundation of trust. Use that.
And again, I won't go through all of it, but it's pretty impressive, pretty amazing. So I thought I would actually share also the intention behind personal AI. It was started by a gentleman in San Diego. His name is Suman, and he had the unfortunate incident of losing his mentor quite young, actually. And so he would ask himself all the time, what would Kenneth do? And so he even made a sign on his board, and he would hearken back to the lessons that he had been taught. But he built this tool in order to have the ability for someone like me to capture my mentor's information, their heart, their spirit, all the things that they give to us as they teach us. And so we started with Michael. I think we'll actually bring this forward with all of our teammates, leveraging folks like Matt Gutermuth on our team, who was the CEO of Safeway. He was the CMO of Winn-Dixie and a number of different amazing organizations. But how can we really draw from all of that experience, all of that learning, in order to make this a tool that can help everyday business leaders like yourselves and like our clients? So thank you for the opportunity.
And the interesting thing with it is we now have 12 people, all of the people who are part of our team. Each of them have a specific level of expertise, a high level of expertise in various verticals and various disciplines. So for us to be able to pull this repository together, it's like an intellectual think tank where we're able to pull the very best ideas from 12 people who've got hundreds of years of experience that we can then apply to a client situation, opportunity, or challenge. So it's just incredibly exciting.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Michael, because one of the uses that I could see for all of you is that if you have maybe it's a senior attorney who is specialized in med mal or sexual assault or, whatever their practice area is or their niche, if you can distill this and this becomes a personal AI for your law firm, you can actually have it assist in the onboarding and the training and the coaching and mentoring. In my opinion, I again don't have any vested interest in this tool other than we think it's amazing. But I would say it could help to kind of bridge the gap and build a system where you have, cross-training ability, you have kind of risk management of what do we do if we lose this person. So it's pretty powerful.
That's amazing. And what is the technology or software that you're using to create this?
It's actually just called Personal AI, and I'll bring my screen up here so you can see the website. Again, we only have a connection through kind of a colleague of ours and a client, but Personal AI is something that I think anyone can leverage. And I'd be happy to make a connection directly to the owner, which again, his name is Suman. I can't say his last name, but he's wonderful.
Yeah. Very good
That's
people.
awesome.
Very
Yep.
good.
Good.
Well, thank you, Michael and Sarah. That was really cool. I enjoyed that. So that was really neat. I loved
That's
it.
fun.
Yeah, thank you. So we've got Maddie from Blue Shark here. Thank you, Maddie, for being with us. So we're going to put you here, and the floor is yours.
Amazing. Well, so a pleasure being here. Everybody's presentations and just the amount of knowledge that's in this panel is just really inspiring. I'm very excited to dive into personal AI in particular. We already have, for those of you who know our CEO, Seth, a voice, and we're working on the video clone that Mike had kind of mentioned earlier as well. So the things that AI can do are just really amazing. I want to kind of, I guess, wrap up the panel today on something that has been a hot topic for a while, and that's AI in content, specifically within your websites. We've talked a lot about spinning content and ways to utilize like a base piece of media in multiple different channels. There's tons of ways to do that while utilizing AI to save you time, but we want to make sure that we're still doing that to the best of our capabilities. So I've got a couple quick things to just share and go into when it comes to content specifically. So for those of you who attended the recent Mastermind, we really dove into Google algorithm updates, and many of those have been tagged or tied to the helpful content updates over the last few years. Two of the biggest updates this year have specifically been content focused. So overall, the biggest thing, if you take nothing else away from my presentation or my piece to this panel, is to write for a human and to optimize for Google or optimize for your SEO. So that's the biggest thing that we want to kind of pay attention to. Google is normally not very explicit in terms of what they're looking for from businesses and their marketing. They are very explicit when it comes to the use of AI. So it is something that we know that they care about and that they're paying attention to. In terms of using like human versus AI content, ChatGPT, having these personal GPTs, there's tons of other content creation tools out there. Ultimately, since AI first became like a big buzzword in the space, they have been getting better and better. So it's very easy to use these AI tools as a way to help spin content, but to kind of harken back to what Nancy was saying, she's starting with something she's creating from scratch. And then utilizing that and spinning that content. But ultimately, it still started with a human and it's being edited. So it's ending with a human. So there are different tools that you can have in place to help make things faster, but we want to make sure that we're being intentional about the process as well. You may be familiar with Originality AI, similar to other programs. There's a handful like it. Grammarly has its own version of this at this point as well that it just recently launched. Originality is what our team uses. So we, when AI content first became this huge hot topic, everyone wanted to put content out there. But because Google was so explicit about not wanting AI generated content just thrown out on the internet, we were very cautious about doing so. We have done tests in terms of adding 20% of AI written content, 30% having the conclusion be written after the rest of the pages written by a human being. So there's ways to kind of finagle it to, again, like decrease the amount of time that you or your team may be working on something. And then there's tools like Originality that just help with that final check. So also if you're outsourcing information, this can be a really great way to help kind of keep any of the people on your team or contractors that you may be working with who are providing content to you to help keep them in check as well. I will say, like with any tool, you have to take it with a grain of salt. So the 0% threshold is very difficult to attain, especially when you're creating kind of more generic blog content or things like that. So you do have to still take everything with a grain of salt. The tool is not always perfect. But it can be extremely helpful in the creation or again in that editing phase of things. Our team uses it for topic lists, for social media post ideas. We will, similar to what Mike was saying, kind of plug and play information in our own personal GPTs for our agency. And that helps us come up with new ways to word things, keyword variations, topics to include or to focus our blog on, depending on the time of year, things like that. It can also be extremely helpful for that rewriting or adding a specific perspective or accent to something. And then additionally, we've kind of talked about that written content throughout the panel today. We've also talked about video and other spokes on the wheel, I think was the analogy earlier. There are also different AI tools to help with video content overall. These are 3 that our team has used in the past or that we're consistently using to help either edit videos faster, because that can be such a time-consuming experience, or to help transcribe videos, to help add voiceovers, to help lengthen, shorten, tweak, move pieces of content depending on what you were talking about around. So that maybe the video that's more of a stream of consciousness sometimes for our podcast episodes, we're able to move topics around to make it more concise and streamlined and organized at the end of the recording session. There's a handful of image creation tools. So especially in the personal injury space, we see a ton of stock images that are just used across personal injury website after personal injury website. It's something that happens for all industries, but there's only so many pictures of car accidents that exist that you would want to have on your website. So different tools like Midjourney can be helpful to create different images that you're looking for. We really only use this on the creative side of things. If there's like a basic stock image that needs to be used again for like a social post, at this stage, we're not really using any of that information on our clients' websites directly. But this is an example of the prompt that was put into the tool and what it came out with 4 different variations. But like I was saying, and this is my favorite part and my ending note, is a grain of salt. So obviously John does not look like this. And even though this was part of the prompt and we put in John's headshot and asked him to look like a cartoon, like a Van Gogh painting or a pop art piece, this is what it came out with. So it is not perfect, but it can be a fun process. It can help stir creative juices or help save time. But ultimately, AI is a way to make things faster, make things more efficient, but it's not entirely a replacement.
Thank you so much. So we did have a thank you, Maddie, for your presentation. Really appreciate that. We did get a few questions, so we want to open it up just very briefly before we end. We've got, let's see, from Rob Osternack asks, how can you connect Chat GPT into Outlook and use it for sending email?
You know what? I just answered that. There's what we talked about today is stuff that you can do yourself. We're lawyers, okay? We are not programmers. Really, almost everything we've talked about you can do. There are some things that get a little bit beyond. So when you start linking Outlook and things like that, there's a program called Zapier, which links these programs. And I won't even call it programming. Zapier will take a little bit of time to learn. I know the elements of it. It's very easy to hire somebody on Upwork to connect programs. But most of what we have done is feed the GPT what your data set is and limit it there. Okay. But there are, countless ways to attach other things.
Perfect. Will Norman, thanks for joining us. If someone's starting from scratch and they haven't done any of this, where should I begin? Operations?
Personally, sorry, Mike. First
No,
thing I would say is take Mike's class when he offers it, right? Because that's a great starting point. He gives a wide swath of custom GPTs you can create. But like somebody was texting me that's on the webinar. Basically, whenever a pain point pops up in my practice, my first stop is now ChatGPT. And it's going to sound bizarre, but I spend roughly an hour to 4 hours on a given day preparing what I need for each specific use instance. So if you're struggling with an HR issue, that should be your starting point. And again, Mike's masterclass was just truly, I can't say enough about it because I was doing it live. And once you've done it once, you'll see how easy it is.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. I also think that we have a knowledge base at our law firm with all of our policies and procedures. So what we're doing, Will, is we're uploading that information into a ChatGPT so that people can use it. It becomes more accessible, easier. And if we haven't sort of programmed it correctly, well, then ChatGPT will give the answers. So rather than going to our knowledge base, they go to ChatGPT. So that's a work in progress for us.
Can I just as awesome as this is, there are pitfalls. Okay. You have to be careful about what your GPT has access to. So when I started going down this rabbit hole, maybe about a year ago, I'm like, oh, this is great. We're going to put everything in the law firm in a GPT until my chief marketing officer said, well, if you put that in, what's preventing someone from saying, what does Michael McCready really think of my work ethic? And you know what? No. And you think about the questions that could be asked and the data that GPT has access to and what the possible responses are. So you have to be very, very careful about data governance, what you're feeding it, who has access to it, who has access to add to the data. So, I'm assuming everybody's going to sit around their computer and just do all this themselves. But as you start rolling it out to your team, you've got to be really, really careful about data governance.
So as a practical matter and as a practice pointer, what we've done is we have amended our contract with our clients to disclose, as we're required now by the Florida bar rules, that we are using AI in our practice. So our clients have consented to that, but also within, and I'm sure Thomas can speak to this, we have set parameters and guardrails. Staff can use AI.
Yeah, well, we do, Mike, and I'm sure, Mike, are you on the team plan or enterprise plan?
Yeah, on the enterprise. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so what we've done is a very slow rollout. While I've created all these custom GPTs, I only share them with my leadership team, and I'm letting them now go wide in terms of how they use it. They're already privy to all of the HR analysis and stuff like that, right? So I would only share that specific GPT, let's say it's HR, with whoever the team leaders are or the managers are that handle HR. So
Yeah,
it's not company wide, right? And I'm very restrictive about how I want to roll that out, like Mike and Nancy both said.
The other issue is you have to be concerned about copyright, okay? So we have a lot of digital materials. So for example, David Ball on damages, okay? You know, we've got a digital copy of that. We own that. I own that. I bought that book. I can upload that into a GPT as a reference and say, you know, here are all the depositions in the case, fashion me an opening statement based on the principles of David Ball. But you know what? I can't give that to you, Tom. Right? That's copyright infringement. Now, I could give it to you if you bought your own copy and used it, but you've got to be careful about that. For medical malpractice, John, I may have mentioned this. So OB-GYN cases, the Bible is Williams on obstetrics. You can buy a digital copy of Williams on obstetrics and make that your GPT. Take all the medical records and say, hey, here are all the labor and delivery records of our client. Please review them in the context of the principles of, you know, Williams on obstetrics. And it's going to give you, you know, a preliminary analysis. I wouldn't go to court with that, but boy, that sure can focus where you want to look at in a case, but you got to buy that book. Right? You've got to buy that resource.
Or you can sign up with Clip, because one of the things they do is exactly what Michael said, is they are taking a medical textbook and treatises, and they are training their system so that it's there. And you can do all sorts of really cool queries. If you're an elder law lawyer, a malpractice lawyer, you can say, give me every instance in which the physician missed X, Y, or Z. And out pops a summary. So it's just amazing. But again, it comes down, as Michael has pointed out, to how you are training your system.
Right. And one of the things that I think a future use for us is using AI to screen medical malpractice cases. Here's our criteria. Here's the factors that we consider. And let's do an AI generated screening for our intake specialists, so that they get the benefit of our firm's analysis. So even if it's their first day on the job, they're getting the analysis. They know what questions to ask. What is the additional information we should be asking this new client? Things like that. So I really want to thank everyone. And I think it's mind-blowing what I've seen here today. So I'm really in awe of what all of you are doing. And thank you, all of you, for joining us. And thank you for all of our guests. And I'm sorry if we didn't answer all of the questions, but we tried. And Michael, Tom, Nancy, Sarah, Michael, and Maddie, thank you again, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Our pleasure.
One more thing. By the way, we are sponsored by Advocate Capital, which provides case expense financing for plaintiffs' lawyers. Highly recommended. They are the exclusive sponsor of the Mastermind experience. If anyone is interested, we have our next Mastermind on Friday, January 24th in beautiful Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It will be on the beach. So I hope you can join us. Mastermindexperience.com is the URL. Everyone have a great day.